So now that we've got the big idea behind sorting down, at least a sort for value, let's get a little bit more specific about value. So I'm gonna move some things around. And now this is a little bit of review, but we have two colors here. Which one of them is darker? Everyone's gonna pick that one, right? That's easy. And then if we go and we grab these two, which one's darker? You can still see this one's a little bit darker. If we play around and we have which one's darker, it's this one. But this tends to get a little bit harder. And what we're going for is that when there's a huge difference in value, it's really easy to tell. But it isn't always going to be that way. Sometimes you'll end up with a couple colors that are very, very similar in value. I'm trying to set it up so you can see that. They're almost the same value. So how do we determine which color is darker or which one's lighter, or if they're the same? So the way that we do that is with an afterimage. So the way that we produce an afterimage, and this is an idea that a lot of you people who are interested in color have probably come across. Everyone has experienced it one way or the other because it's a function of how your eyes work. But if you stare at a color without letting your eyes move around too much, and then look away, that color will sort of be burned onto your retina to some degree. And what happens is like, so if we, let's see, this is like a gimmick here, but if we stare at the corner of this for like maybe 7 or 8 seconds, try not to let our eyes move around too much, and then when we're ready, we pull the purple paper away, what'll happen is it'll look like that. And it'll be fleeting, it'll be dull, you won't see a lot of it, but you will see it, and the more you do it, the more clear it'll get. The afterimage is the opposite in every way of whatever's going on here. So while you're doing this, what'll happen is you'll be looking at this edge or this corner, and I don't know if you could pick this up in the video or not, but as your eye sort of moves around slightly, you'll start to see like a little, if this is a purple, you'll see a slightly yellow or maybe a really light green halo start to form around the color. And what you want to do is practice seeing afterimages to the point where you can see one every time. So that's all you do. If we did it with this one, it would be the same thing. We look at that corner, we stare at it, we count to 8, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and look right there, and you should be seeing like a slightly purple reddish rectangle. It's always the shape of whatever you were using. Now, we're going to use the afterimage to compare the values of different colors. So we'll start with something easy. So we know that this is a dark color, and we know that this is a light color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I know that the afterimage is the opposite of everything. Like, so if I do an afterimage of a dark color, the new color, the afterimage is going to come out light. If I have a light color, the afterimage is going to come out dark. Since they're touching, I can predict that my afterimage is going to be lighter on this side and darker on this side. So that's what we try. We go ahead and we count to whatever, 7 or 8. Some people need a little bit more time at the beginning. When you pull them apart, you're going to see an afterimage. And sure enough, this is like a bluish, darker blue. And this is a slightly more orangey, lighter color. And so it should be really clear which one's darker. And one of the tricks is to not look away. You have to really look into the afterimage. Make a little dot on the paper underneath if it helps, and stare at the dot. So these two were obvious, and we know which one was darker and lighter already. So the next thing we do is try and find colors that are a little closer together. So if we have, let me find a good one. That might be a little too good. I like all these. These are going to be fun. But this is a little too difficult right now. Okay, this is what I was looking for. Perfect. Okay, so which one of these two is darker? They're very close, but one of the ways that you can know which one's darker, that one is darker than the other, is if there's a really sharp line. I know that the sharp line's always going to be sharp, but I'll show you in a minute how the overlapping line will soften in your eye when they're similar in value. So anyway, you can see a nice sharp edge, so you know one of them's darker than the other. This one happens to be darker, so we're going to go from there. So now we do our afterimage again. All right, do it like that. Stay right there. And then we count it off, however you want to do it. I'm not actually doing it. I'm just hoping that you'll do this on your own when you get a chance. I probably killed enough time there, so you may be able to see it on the screen. But look at that corner and keep your eye on it. Pull it apart. So we're seeing like a light red over here and a dark blue over here, and that's what we would predict, right? If this is darker, it should show up lighter. If this is lighter, it should show up darker. So that's what we got. And now what we want to do is move a little bit closer together to two colors that are, let's see. It's lighter anyway. These two look like they're going to be very similar. I'm going to predict that the green is darker again. So this one should show up kind of reddish and lighter, and this should show up kind of bluish and darker. So let's see what happens. Stare at that corner. Yeah, this one shows up sort of a purple, and it's a little bit lighter. The blue shows up here a little bit darker. So that means that this color was a little bit darker than the orange. So if we're trying to find two colors that are the same value, so we can see what that afterimage looks like, we just need, maybe we should keep this one and just find one that's slightly lighter than this one. And that might be enough. It's worth trying. So let's try that. This one looks darker to me, so that's what I'm expecting. But we'll see. So look at that corner. Try not to let your eyeballs wobble. Wait until you start to see a little halo. And then 3, 2. This one does show up a little bit lighter, only a tiny bit. So I just need to go around, and that was not right. Find something. Maybe I'm out of greens that are the right value, so maybe I'll try and find an orange that's slightly darker. Now that's going to be too dark. Maybe it isn't, but maybe it is. And actually, it doesn't have to be orange. It could be anything. Ooh, I like that. That's definitely darker. let's try this one. Let's try this one. So I'm going to predict that this one's the darker of the two. So this afterimage should show up lighter. This afterimage should show up darker. Right at that corner. Three, two. So what I got was that they're basically the same. It's very easy to forget what you just saw. But I'm going to say that these two are very close in value. And when you're doing this yourself, you're just going to have to practice it quite a bit before you get very good at it. But that's the basic idea. So the last thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you a sort. After you've practiced this for a while, the next thing to do is to sort out. You're going to pick a hue, okay? So blue, green, yellow, doesn't matter. Pick a hue and then find 4 different values in that hue. So that could be pretty much anything you want. If you want to start with purple, or if you want to start with red. I don't have a lot of great reds. But let's see, I've got a blue. Let's put together, got a couple of blues. So I'm just getting my blues out. Okay. And now, so if I say that my first step, light, middle light, dark, middle dark, and dark. Now there are darker blues out there, but I think maybe this is my best one. We could go darker here. Blue, when it gets really dark, it kind of has to go towards purple or it gets lost. So this one's a little bit, I don't like it as much. So if we have these 4 steps, that's going to be a pretty good place to start. So this is one hue with 4 values. And the idea is that each step is relatively even. We don't want to go from here to here and then go all the way over into the darkest dark. So this is pretty good. And now what I want you to do is choose another value, choose another hue, and then start trying to find the same value of that color that matches each one of these. So if the other color is going to be green, which one of these looks like it doesn't really match any of them. So it looks like it's closest to this one, but it's not a great place to start. This one's a little bit lighter, a little bit darker. But what you'll do is you'll take each one of these. When you think you have one, you'll do the test. And when they come together and you do the test and you get the same value, you'll end up, you'll have a match. So that's what we'll do. Let me see, do this light one. Let's try this one. Okay, so if we do the test on these two, I would expect them to be pretty much the same. It looks like the one on the blue one might be a little darker. Well, let's see what happens when we do it. Stare at that corner. 3, 2, 1. They are the same. Okay, so that's a match. Now those two work. And now, in terms of our video here, that's how you do it. I'm going to save everybody some time and just put together some colors that I know are already matches. So these are our greens, and these are our blues. And the steps, so I would really like a green here that's not quite as yellow. I'd like something a little bit cooler because the other ones are a little cooler. Other than that, I'm happy with this. This is the limited amount of paper that I have right now. This is pretty good. I would want to continue to look for a better color here. But the values are right, and that's what matters. Now, the last thing I was going to say, I told you I would come back to this, but I wanted to point out that when you have two different colors that are values that are very different, the edge looks really, really sharp. When you have two colors whose values are the same, the edge tends to look a little bit softer. And I don't know, that's not the best example, but we do have some other ones. That's a better example, where you can almost see it start to blend in your eye, whereas that kind of a relationship could never happen here. So take some time. Get to here. And then if you're in my class, you'll get further instructions on what to do to put these together. That was wrong. If you're just following along at home, this was probably enough. If you can get here, you're doing really, really well. So that's going to be it for now. And we'll come back with a whole nother section, probably a slideshow and a discussion of how this kind of works in a practical sense.